When they named their first album, And Now the Legacy Begins, it was hubris and maybe a bit of bluster. Today, it's impressively prescient. That first record from the Dream Warriors put them at the forefront of the early 1990s Canadian hip-hop. It was just the beginning of their contribution to a scene that would go on to launch some of the biggest names in music today, including Drake and The Weeknd. And we're so pleased to welcome founding members of the Dream Warriors, King Lou and Capital Q, to our studio tonight.
Yes, yes.
Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. I don't know if you noticed, when I said the 6, it sounded a bit awkward.
Yeah.
For me, I'm still kind of old school. I prefer the T-dot.
Well,
what about you guys?
Well, I don't mind the T-dot. I don't mind the 6, just as long as we're mentioned. You know, and it's funny because if you look at flyers from back in the day, they didn't even have area codes on them. You know what I mean? So right now, everybody's on an area code tip, so.
416. I still have a 416.
There it is.
There's no 647 for me.
And I'm trying to keep it.
Well, we're the realest of the real, so.
I want to talk about your career and about the music scene in Canada. First, though, let's go to the very, very, very beginning. How did you two meet? Luke?
We met in a neighborhood called Jane and Finch. I was just creative, young.
In Toronto?
In Toronto, yeah. Jane and Finch in Toronto. I was a young, kind of, you know, creative, graffiti, dancing, designing, like just trying to express myself type of dude. And when me and Q kind of first actually got to know each other, we kind of got into a little tiff between each other, like a, you know. And I think that brought about a respect because when you grow up in the hood, I grew up in such an environment where respect is everything. Sometimes you don't have a lot available to you, opportunities or others. So
is that why respect is so important?
I think it's so important for that reason. So it's very hard to be creative and gain respect because if you're doing something different, a lot of people aren't really down for change. But I was one of those type of guys that a lot of people in school rooted for because I would do something different and they'll be like, oh man, that's him doing his thing again.
They be like, yo, that's that Louis dude, man.
Yeah.
They just expected it.
Yeah. They just expected it. So if you were in the cafeteria and there was different spots, like, you know, they're playing cards and gambling on one side, they're playing
in
chess.
School gambling?
Yeah. And then on one corner, they're pounding on the table making beats. I would be able to go to each section, which is very unique. Some of the people would just stay in their sections and would never move out. So I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, chess, and then, you know, gambling with the boys here, and then graffitiing and pounding on tables, making rap beats on the other side. So
Q, I want to ask you, because you know him very well.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about him that allowed him to be able to move through all those different crowds, I guess?
Yeah, Q.
What allowed him to do it is the dude was just doing what was on his mind.
Yeah.
Anything that he wanted to do, he just did it.
Yeah.
You know, and he wasn't hurting nobody. He was just doing himself, right? He was just doing what he felt he wanted to do, and it was different than everybody else. For me, we meshed because I was into dancing, so battle.
Don't let him fool you. He was crazy. He was crazy.
You know what I mean?
He was,
so,
you know, B-boy.
Yeah. Oh,
so that's why, you know, at first people be like, this kid is a weird kid, because I used to cut his hair. He used to do some crazy styles with his hair. So they'd be like, yo, what's up with dude's head?
Yeah, I used to do all kinds of stuff.
You know what I mean? And he didn't care. So
well, I mean,
they just accepted after a while.
Even when you're, I want to ask you where the name Dream Warriors comes from.
Okay.
So just keep that in your head for a second.
Yeah.
But just to follow up on what you're saying, when it comes to the music industry, especially at that time with rap music, doing something different, I think took a bit of courage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You agree with me?
Yeah,
yes, I do.
It took courage, but when you're doing something for yourself, like just doing it to do it, being creative, you're not really afraid of the difference. You're hearing everything else, but you're doing what's coming out of your mind and in your way, right? And you respect what's going on, but you're just doing it because it's fun. It's like, I'm gonna try it this way, I'm gonna do this way. You don't realize that, you know, people looking at you and you're like, I don't feel that. And you don't care because you're not really paying attention to all of that.
When did you decide to become the Dream Warriors, and where did the name come from?
Well, first of all, Q's name is Q because he doesn't speak much. We call him the Quiet Storm, so we gave him that name. So I'm surprised that he's talking so much even in this interview. But like Dream Warriors was a name that was based off of a belief of being a warrior of your dreams.
Yeah, I remember.
You know, being a fighter of what you believe in. We always struggle with the question of, was Dream Warriors 2 people or was Dream Warriors more than 2 people? So when we started to get into actually recording, I was doing backups for Mishi back in those days. And when we started Mishi Me,
Queen of Canadian
the queen of hip hop. She's like, you know, our own, you know. So when we were coming about doing Dream Warriors, like just building a legacy for Dream Warriors, you know what I mean? It kind of was like, do we make a movement or do we just represent 2 guys? Do we do a whole neighborhood push or so forth? So me and Q just said, listen, we're just gonna do it this way. And we grabbed a few guys from around the way. There was like Blast.
Yeah, actually Blast was
one of the original
members. Yeah.
And 2 of the dancers, Frankie and Derek, were Warrior 1 and Warrior 2. I'm going to explain who they are. And myself and Q.
And then later, you had 2 more members.
Yeah, so we had a five-man group. I'll try to be quick.
Okay.
So we had a 5-man group, and the 2 dancers had other visions of where they seen themselves going.
Yeah.
Because right at that time, we weren't making any money. So the thing for us was we were performing out of the sheer passion of our own personal dreams. It wasn't based off of trying to build a foundation, and our dream wasn't trying to take over the world of rap. It was celebrating the music and celebrating what we were doing. Some people had other visions and wanted to go other ways. So we allowed them to do that. And through that process, the same Frankie and Derek became Maestro's dancers.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, you know, Maestro
Fresh West.
Maestro Fresh West. So in that process, we realized that, you know what? Our dream of being a warrior, it could actually, that philosophy can go for other people who don't even rap. You know what I mean? And that springs after our first Legacy album. That concept transcended through all our albums. So when we dropped our first album, that was like a collection of all our life to that point. So let's say our album released, I don't know, 91 to 90, right? Everything before that is what makes that album. Us being kids, us being teenagers, all that sort of thing. So it was very hard to decide what to keep and what to push and what to pull, because we had all kinds of songs. We had straight, ghetto songs. And then when we shopped to get that deal for that first album, there was four-song EP that our manager, Ivan Berry, of Beat Factory Productions, went over to England.
Legend.
And legend in the game. And went over into, we call him Small Axe.
Yeah.
Like Bob Marley.
Bob Marley, because him
You need a small axe and you
him
want to
chopped
hit a
down
big tree. Right.
So he went over there to chop down the big tree in England, and on his way back, shopping our demo, somebody stopped him inside of the airport and said, listen, I don't want you guys to go nowhere. We want these guys. And I think the song that really sprung it off was Wash Your Face in My Sink. There was another one, Built for the 90s. There was Roll of the 12-Sided Dice, which dealt with, I don't know if anybody knows about Dungeons and Dragons. They have little dice. They have all these
there's a lot of people on the agenda who know Dungeons and Dragons.
a big thing now.
I won't call any names out.
Well, you know, 12-sided dice was a special thing because that's the only place you could find it. So we just represented that whole, we didn't deny that part of our upbringing. So anyway,
because some people think that's a bit like,
well, back
smart,
then.
nerd, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not bad to be a nerd, by the way.
Hey, I do what I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do what I do. So now he's over there, come back, album's out, Dream Warriors. We have a concept of what we are. We're a little bit more solid in our own personal dreams, and we're allowing other people to do their dreams, even if that denies being in our collective. Even if they're doing something
so
like
basically
Maestro.
What you're saying, it wasn't about the collective, it was about the
music
and the art.
and the art. Now, after the first album comes out,
I want to go back to the first album, not to cut you off, but when Ivan was in England, BBC Radio 1 played Wash Your Face in My Sink.
Yes.
Yes?
The Wash Your Face was in England first.
Yes. But you didn't really want that to be your first single.
There's a lot of stuff we wanted to be singles that didn't become singles.
But the audience wanted that.
That's what the people loved, so it became the single. A dude by the name of Nick Smash is the one that that hooked that up. He just took the record out there. It hit BBC or whatever, and they got crazy with it, and then we ended up going over there.
Now, the minute something new comes out, people haven't heard, they want to put it in a box. And your music was described as alternative, hip hop, jazz, rap, quirky. What did you think of all those labels?
At first, it was a little bit annoying because it was kind of highlighting one song, and we were so much more than just one song.
Yeah.
So it was a little tricky on that note. But then we were so glad to be expressing ourselves on something somewhere other than just, our bedroom. You know what I mean?
We have that song. We can just play a little bit of it.
Okay,
Sure.
let's roll it. Let's let them know what we're talking about.
You wash your face in my sink, sing. You wash your face in my sink, You wash your face in my sink, tougher. That's what I'm getting rougher. And you beat me, suffer. The loss of an attempt well tried. Well, your side tried, but my side will never be denied. Cause I'm swinging and stinging neglection with an injection of truth. I've come to untwist the twisted you. How does it feel now that I got you all to think? Yeah, and wash your face in my sink.
Oh, yeah.
25 years ago. Like,
Wow.
that's
See
like
that-
25 years ago.
See that video?
I'm still looking.
Yeah.
I'm still doing it.
That video
Yeah,
was all improvisation, everything.
yeah.
Everything.
What do you think when you see that?
Well, I think that's amazing because even though Q was very light in saying that they played it on BBC and a few radio stations, they actually released it on a pirate radio station before they actually wanted to sign us.
Yeah.
They wanted to
Yeah,
play
yeah.
it and test it. And it just went
went
crazy.
nuts. Yeah.
It went all over the like the pirate radio stations. People were like, "Where is that? Who is that group? How are they mixing this rap with jazz and what?" Like they just couldn't figure it out where it was coming from. And that was one of the things that sealed it on Island Records, which is the home of Bob Marley. Now, Island Records, you got to think of it as a small little label, but it's the big
Super
things.
powerful, yeah.
Super powerful because they went all the way to the islands and got Bob Marley out of the bush to represent who he was. So we felt that's a great home for us. 4th and Broadway was their
Affiliate.
Yeah, their affiliate inside of the States.
Yeah.
So we linked up with 4th and Broadway.
Who were you listening to when you made that album? It's got so many different influences.
Jungle Brothers, all them cats.
Well-
Rakim, Run DMC.
All New York guys.
You mean making Legacy?
Yeah, when you're making, Legacy.
Well, when we were making Legacy.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, the first, that's what we were trying
That's
to
the
tell you
game.
earlier.
Yeah.
The first album was such a collective of everything that we
Everything,
were
yeah.
From
before
before.
that.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking about, that's where I was going to kind of go into where you're talking about the second album and who we were as people. When we started to go towards the second album and we started using Love and we added another member, Spec.
Spec, yeah.
Spec is another anomaly because when we were on the stage, we were still going through the questions of being two or being a movement because our dancers, remember, went over to Maestro
yeah.
because they had their own personal dreams, which we totally respected, and there was no animosity anywhere. They became Black Eye and DRK, so that was excellent. So as that's going on, we're on stage, we're doing stuff, and we're performing, and we're still going through the question because we're still kissing, shaking hands and kissing babies, you know what I mean? Because we're such a grounded group. We were never really into the whole thing of being all the way up on a pedestal in order to be famous. We felt that just being a man from the crowd was fame enough. You know what I mean? Just saying we're here, but our stuff is going over there. So anytime we went over to England and Europe and did a show and came back, we went right back to the hood. We were right back in Jane and Finch. Thus is why we filmed My Definition inside of the hood.
Right.
And part of in the video, it says you want an all-expense paid trip to the hood.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
which is unheard of for
Well, I'm
game
glad you
shows.
brought up Definition because you won Best Rap Recording at the Junos. Did that help your career?
I think it did, but I can't really trade a Juno in even for a Happy Meal right now.
No.
But people give us respect for the fact that we did it.
Yeah.
We got gold and platinum records. We got a lot of accolades, but I think what people really love about us is the memory they captured. I think that's more gold than any trophy, because people, even to this day, when they hear a song, they're like, oh my gosh, wash your face in my sink. I was doing this at that time. My Definition, when it came out, it was such a blessing because it totally introduced me to hip hop and all of this. I was never even into hip hop, but that was my introduction into just being creative and different things.
I get the creative aspect of it, but you also have to make a living.
Yeah.
Being a commercial hit is really important. And a lot of people think that once you get commercial success, getting a Juno is that stamp of approval. Back in 1998, the Rascals turned down the award in protest because during the televised portion of the Junos, they never televised the awards for rap, reggae, or dance. And I believe
they always had it in the basement.
Yes, and I believe up until the year after the Rascals protested in 1998 was the only year they actually televised the rap recording to this day. When you think about like Drake, a Canadian, is the biggest face of hip hop in the world. How supportive is the music industry in Canada for rap artists?
I think the foundation of where it all stems from, the concept of just the next thing coming out. I think that Drake is very like necessary because everything, a baton has to be passed, you know what I mean? And I think the way the hip hop industry works, it always looks for the new thing. So even if you're doing great hip hop, sometimes great hip hop is not what's gonna, the cream doesn't always rise to the top, you know? The kid's always looking for the new thing. When they go to school, they ask, what's the new thing? It's not necessarily what's the good thing. So in 2017, you got so much groups coming out, and you got the internet. You got so much ways of putting things out now just to express yourself. And I think that the awards and the accolades and the fact that we have a variety of different artists coming out now through the internet is a blessing. And I think any blessing that is ignored becomes a curse, you know? So for us, we didn't have all the avenues. I wish we had those avenues.
Back
you know what I'm saying? Because things would be a lot different, but that's not the case. We had to develop an actual industry. Like when we went to Sudbury, there was no hip hop representation for a stage show in Sudbury. There was no setup. We really had to go hand and foot through territories and through locations.
But even when you were in Toronto, there was no music station here.
No, but...
And you were part of Can't Repress the Cause?
Well, yeah, that's
and which, like, I mean, a lot of people might not realize that back in the day, there was no radio station that played black music.
No.
So you were getting played in England by BBC Radio 1, but
All
people couldn't hear you here.
No.
Can you tell us about that, how you got involved with Can't Repress the Cause?
Well, we got involved through Billy Bryan's. I don't know if you remember Parachute Club. Rise Up was Lorraine Segato's, one of Lorraine Segato's big hits. Billy Bryan's was a master at bringing different cultures together. And when we did Can't Repress the Cause,
it was a music video.
It was a
basically
music video.
advocating for the need for a station that played dance.
Trying to get
music.
a radio station going. I remember going to City Hall. And we got through the City Hall doors. And right now you don't see me represented, but I usually have a sugar cane, which was a representation of me being West Indian in Canada. Because when we used to go over and do shows, people were like, I didn't even know black people in Canada. Like, you know what I'm saying? So we used to do interviews on just being black in Canada without even getting into the music. So
when they found out we were from Canada.
Yeah, so this representation was a sugar cane. I remember going into City Hall, and all the artists were representing themselves, and I was like, should I leave this sugarcane because it was a big part of the concept of who we were? And Billy was like, nah, he was so hood. He was like, nah, you bring it. You bring it because this is part of what we're doing. I remember getting to the front door and they're like, you can't go in with that stick. And I was like, that's the funny thing about it, because they look at the music, they look at the imagery, they look at what you're doing, and it's like, it's just a stick, it's just songs, it's just this. But it was a whole thing it was a whole movement in Toronto that wanted to happen and was gonna happen, whether you gave us a radio station or not. And now we got radio stations because it was undeniable.
And you guys were a part of that.
And we're a part of that development.
It must make you feel proud to look back and know that you were part of that foundation.
Yeah, I feel that like, when you look at what you, when you look at developing and when you look at what you leave behind and when you look at your purpose in life, you kind of have to think to yourself, did I make a change in not just somebody's life, but in something permanent for the next generation to benefit from?
Something that's bigger than you.
That's right. So things that we're doing now before the 6th, like you're saying, is what Drake is benefiting from, is what,
Shad,
Kanan, any one of those weekends, any one of them that come after us, and that's the kind of thing. So when we go out and we get in love from that because they know that is a fact. They feel that. And that's the thing that's more precious than the actual songs, is the fact that they have the opportunity to not have to go through what we did in order to do what they're doing. They have other avenues they can.
They have lots of avenues that they can
and they
use.
don't have to say, we're putting it on the map, because
It's been on the map.
it's been on the map.
Q, you wanted to add something?
There's so much. I think that what I wanted to add has gone out of my head. right
Okay,
now.
let's play some more music of
Yeah.
yours. Sheldon, let's get to the next roll-in, please.
Bring me to the end and I'll be me. Open up your eyes wide so you can see a stick to be me. How I kick my rhymes down packed within the circle. How we do when we kick that fat. But where's the meaning? I take it one night by one night. But where's the meaning? I take it one day by every day. I pick a rhyme I chose and put it #1 inside my placement. So look to find the sound inside my basements. 13 cellars full of samples with ample time to loop. It's just the beats from the dead from my head with my troop. And it'd be cool if all the time was like studio time. But days are long enough for spec without the rest of my time. I think I'm manic depressive and not aggressive enough. You could try to be hard, but damn, you still won't be rough. Life is whack, fall apart. Life is fat, F your flow. Life is waiting for a deal when you like got no.
That was from your second album, Subliminal Stimulation, and that was
Yeah.
Spec.
That's bad.
And on that album, too, you collaborated with the legendary Gangstar. How did that come about?
Well, like I was saying from the very beginning, about Dream Warriors being 2 and then being a group and then going back to 2 and then going back to some concept of a group, Spec, which you're just hearing. He was going back and forth from Montreal to Toronto, and Love actually helped develop his skills, because when he first started out, he was on beat all the time, you know, and he was very like young to the industry, you know, and he was just a friend, he was just a person in the crowd. So we said, you know what, that is a Dream Warrior. So we brought him up off the stage and put him into a song, and we actually made him part of that album. And that album was a representation of where Dream Warriors mentality was going. We were like, you could be a person from the crowd in this group. That's how it is. And Gangstar was another one of our quote unquote, you know, friends from overseas, over a different.
You were telling me a different story before we started taping. What was that story?
I
know you were really a little reluctant to tell it, but with all respect, because...
Well, Gangstar, the story I was telling you was about us touring through Europe, and the fact that we were trying to set up a European and England tour, and Gangstar actually came and opened for us, which a lot of people in Toronto don't know about, but we were kind of like
So they opened up
huge.
for you.
Yeah, we were so huge in Europe and England that like people here wouldn't understand it, because we're so hand and foot. Like we'll just be like, we'll take a bus, even though we have a car to drive. We'll shake a hand, and we wouldn't do the stardom thing. We'd be in the crowd just with everybody else hanging out, and then we go over to England, and we cannot go into any environment that it'll shut down. Like when we did interviews, when we did signings in places, the place shut down. So when we brought Gangstar and we did that whole movement, they came out with Jazzmatazz after, and it was great. Solar. And
So maybe you influenced them.
Oh yeah, most definitely, because even when Guru, we had a birthday party for him in Japan, and it was his birthday, and he was kind of teary-eyed, and then we were like, "What's up? What's wrong?" He's like, "You know, that's crazy, man." And you know, he has a deep voice. I can't do Guru's voice very good, but he's like,
Rest in peace, Guru.
Yeah, rest in peace, Guru, because he's passed away now.
We
He's
just showed a
like,
picture
he's such a
of him,
great friend, and he's like, yo, you know, Lou Q, like nobody's ever done something like this for me. Like we had a cake, we just threw it. It's in the room, you know, in the hotel room. And he was just like, and we just couldn't understand that. Like we were like, come on, man, like we're family, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, this is incredible, because Guru, when it comes to hip hop and rap, he's one of the foundation.
Yeah, man.
And they play with jazz a lot.
And they played with jazz a lot.
That's also that linked us.
But I kind of, I'm frustrated on your behalf, because when it feels like you're kind of underappreciated in Canada.
Yeah,
Listen.
I'm gonna let Q talk, because Q
You're right.
hardly talk.
You're right. We were underappreciated in Canada. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because there's not support for the entertainment industry, not just the rap. I don't know what it is.
Because if
I
you're
try
going
to figure it out myself, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, we were doing our work because we love what we were doing. But when we came back here, we were just normal guys, but it wasn't like they understood or they appreciated what we were doing. Because we had a lot of people coming here to film us. We said, look, we're not going to fly over there. You guys are going to come here.
Yeah, we brought
We're going
them
to
in.
show
We made
you
sure they
Canada, what you don't understand, and what, you know, we have a great city, blah, blah, blah. We did all of that.
So you're ambassadors to Toronto way before it was
You
something.
know, I never think of it like that,
Yeah.
but that's the label, that's the things that we've done.
How much better do you think we are now at recognizing talent in our own backyard?
I think we're much better.
I think the younger generation is
I think we're
accepting
much
each other. They're accepting each other a lot more and working together so that they're making it stronger. I don't think the powers that can do a lot to help the groups are really doing a lot unless you become a Drake that goes out, gets power, comes back and said, I want to do this. And they're like, we'll follow you. Because basically that's what it is, man. Instead of beating around the bush.
Because it's tough when people have
mean?
their own personal dreams and their dream is to be famous or be rich. How do you be rich and famous and then come back and give it away? You know what I mean? So it's hard for them to flip and switch. You got to have something in your foundation from the start. You know what I mean? We're West Indians living in Canada. That's why we had the sugarcane to represent who we were around the world.
And here,
So
Is there more music from Dream Warriors?
whatever door opens, if it's a good opening door, then it could happen, or, you know, depends on what comes.
See?
You know?
See, you gotta come and chill in my living room. You hear music playing all over the place.
So you're
girl.
making music then?
I'm I'll sleep and my hand will be doing this, writing songs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. The thing is not about writing songs and doing music because that's in our DNA.
Yeah.
The thing is about, are we gonna release it and present it? You know
You
what I mean?
should.
I don't know.
You have an audience. You have fans.
We got a lot of well-known people wanting to do some work with us.
Well,
I don't want to mention some names, but it's right here. It's like
we won't tell anyone,
won't
promise. You can tell us.
But
Well, thank you so much for being here, both of you.
thank you.
it's
And
good seeing
continued
you again.
success. Thank you.
know. I never thought I would, you know, come into that path and meeting you again.
Yeah, it's
after,
weird
you
how
know?
the universe works, right?
Yeah, the universe is
Yeah.
great.
But we will be doing shows and we will be touring
We got
across
some
Canada.
future.
We'll be doing some of the festivals.
Where can people find out information of what you guys are doing?
Instagram, we are Dream Warriors.
Thank you, and continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit TVO.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.